Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competitive Zone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Tonight, it's a different type of race. Tonight, no stages. One stage, if you will ask that matter, but it's more importantly the All-Star race. Tonight, the Full 8 Cup Challenge increases the horsepower, decreases the weight, and sees how this car would run if it was higher than the horsepower package in real life. Tonight, Maconi Entertainment is ready to bring you all the action for a special race here from Dover Motor Speedway, the All-Star race for 2026. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside of the booth for tonight's Ron Mons. Our producer is Morgan Cook for tonight's coverage, as we're all set to go for tonight's interestingly different one for the Monster Mile. And a lot of these drivers are going to be tested tonight because All-Star Weekend, usually special. Tonight, we see how Dover fares as the All-Star host.
Yeah, not only are we going to see Dover be the host of the All-Star race, we're going to see it be the host of a pretty intriguing race as well. Recent iRacing updates allowing series admins and drivers to crank up the horsepower, lower down the weight to high extremes, and we're going to test that here. I am really interested to see how this race is going to be. On Friday Night Lights, just 24 hours ago here on the channel, we talked a lot about this, what sort of race we may have in store. The O'Reilly cars put on a good show here. Very different here with the Cup cars, but I think this All-Star race is maybe going to be a banger.
I think it's going to be game busters, if you will, to be honest with you here tonight. It's an interesting night, to say the very least, for these drivers. And these drivers, in turn, are going to be tested. Remember, Sean Conklin coming off the win of the New York GP just a week ago. But he's kind of had a change since then. He got drafted in NASCAR for the Coca-Cola iRacing Series. He is now a part of RFK Racing, meaning that 58 is now a 17. And Dylan Basin is now an 06 tonight.
So a little bit of changes here for the All-Star race. Hey, we always say the All-Star race is meant to be different. It's meant to be special. So be a special start to as a new campaign for those drivers. Keep an eye on them to see what they may be able to do here in tonight's race.
It's going to be a curious evening for the drivers tonight. Well, it's a little smaller of a grid. In fact, we have Bryson Hickson-Paw set to hit the racetrack here tonight. There is going to be a true test for some of these drivers. How are they going to fare out with a completely different feeling car per se, because we're running lap times slower than the trucks run tonight?
Yeah, that is pretty unbelievable to think here. It may be higher horsepower and, less weight. You'd think that's a match made in heaven. But here at this track that's about as patchy as my face when I was 14, that'll massively complicate things.
I think it's a challenging one for Dylan Basin, who will be your pole sitter tonight. It's going to be interesting how he fares out with Jonathan Delaney, the battle of car sixes at the front of the field. Robert Miller will start in row 2 tonight. Lucas Hoytsma down alongside him. Row 3, that's Noah Hodgson. That explains why he was a Ford last week. If they're now a RFK team, somebody should change that font to a Roush number. But Paul Gallimore will start in 6 tonight. Then row number 4, Michael S. Tucker and Matthew David Wood. They'll roll things off with a pair of Chevys there. Alan Dunker's in the field tonight with Sean Conklin in his new look machine from 10th.
And then looking from there, Casey Graves going to start this race at 11th. He showed a lot of pace last night here in the O'Reilly cars. Keep an eye on him. Andrew Dyson, who was really fast in that race as well, going to line up alongside in 12th. P13 going to be Tanner Marty. 14th will be Jose Medina. Right behind them on row number 8 will be Adam Benefiel. Next to Bryson Hicksonball. The usual sparring partners in the Friday Night Lights series going to do battle here in the Cup cars. Bryce Reiner and Brandon Hastings going to complete row number 9, and rounding at your 10th row and your field will be Dave Hoytsma.
Look top to bottom at the radio here tonight in this one. Let's take a look at the analysis for tonight. Your race details, if you will. Again, 250 laps. There's not a single stage here this evening. They'll have plenty of tire sets here to work with. 6 total, 5 in the pit lane. But 110 less pounds, 10% horsepower increase. How do you think these cars are going to drive tonight here?
See, it depends on, like, what point of the stint we're asking. Off the bat, these drivers going to be feeling a little bit loose, a little bit wiggly, but I think they're going to have a real fun time. Now, at the end of the stint, when the tires are worn down and the drivers are worn down, that'll be like when it's, you know, a declawed cat attempt to climb up an igloo. It'll be fun for us here in the booth, but because we don't have to deal with that. For the drivers, though, that is going to be a terrifying prospect. So I think they'll be feeling good until they suddenly aren't.
I think the challenges are going to be ever more higher for a lot of these competitors, and we're going to find out pretty quickly who's put in some practice here over the past 40 minutes to prepare for this, or trying to do their own testing. Will we pace for one more time here? Or who's going to be winging it and going to find a wholly different type of car they're expecting entering this evening? Who do you think this type of race favors tonight and why?
Ooh, that is a very good question. I'm keeping my eye on that red, white, and blue paint scheme of Lucas Hoytsma. Not only am I a sucker for a red, white, and blue car, I know the kind of driver that he is. He is a very quick and a versatile racer at that as well. Your reigning Cup Series champion as well. That definitely plays into his cards somewhat. I don't know why. That number 97 just has my eye. We'll have to see what he can do here in this race. It could very well be his night.
Going to be an interesting one, to say the very least, here tonight as we get set with many NASCAR drivers now part of the FLCC here in 2026 that are going to be busy with the Coke Series, but also here in terms of preparation each and every week and bringing some of the real-world team representation with them. But the challenge is going to be fun. That's the 2 pro stripes, ready to rip against everyone else, and everyone, obviously, looking to try and win an all-star race. Let's find out who's got the best setup, who's got the best car, and in turn, who's got the best ability to adapt tonight. From Dover Motor Speedway, we're happy with this here at Maconi Entertainment for this evening's coverage as we get set to go. It's Basin in front, it's Delaney alongside on your front row. Those two will rip pretty quickly. There goes the pace car, and we're set for that restart/start zone tonight. Green flag is out. We're all-star racing from Dover. Quick start at the front of the field, and there goes the 6 machine to lead the first lap. Robert Miller charging immediately to second, but everyone else trying the different lines like Lucas Hoytsma up the road.
Yeah, side by side squabbling a little bit farther behind. Everybody looking to get off to a clean start here in this race. It would suck in the off week to carry it over into the World 600 to have a lap 1 or lap 2 DNF here. So everybody looking to try to avoid drama like the plague and just get off to a smooth start. Get the juices flowing before this car tries to hack at you alive.
Yeah, the challenge is going to be ever more clearer for a lot of these cars tonight to see who's going to get the edge, who's going to survive, and better yet, who's going to be clean by the end of this one. Jonathan Delaney letting some cars on go as he settles on in. Michael S. Tucker, he's got the stand-up to cancer car also going through. So let's follow on with Gallimore. Seems like everyone's pretty well solid. We're running 23 flats already, near a tenth or two of fall off of the opening couple laps.
Yeah, and you know, flashing my mind back to that Friday Night Lights race just 24 hours ago here on Maconi Entertainment, we saw some really odd things go down towards the end. It was eventually Bryson Ixenball winning that race through an odd set of circumstances. He was getting hunted down towards the end, blew a tire, but because he blew a tire with just 5 laps left to go, he was able to run it all the way through to the end and score that victory. So it will be fascinating to see if any sort of chicanery like that goes down here. Certainly the tire wear, I wouldn't even say terrible is the right word to describe it. I think horrendous would probably be a better word.
I think there's a possibility, absolutely, with this, and I think the challenges are going to be extremely real by the end of the night. Robert Miller, who's had some rough ups and downs this season, is looking pretty steady here in this fight, but look at the charge again. Hoytsman trying to get clean over the diamond lines. It's working for the run. Here we go for second.
And drivers already squabbling up. Hoytsma, who I had my eyes on at the drop of the green flag, trying to make something work there. Miller, though, keeping that momentum rolling there on the high side, going to withstand that pressure off through 3 and 4 and lead him down to 1 and 2 once again. But Hoytsma, I don't think he's going to stop at many lengths to try and get this move done. I think he's going to try and do it until he actually cannot, and those tires are just worn down too much.
And right now, you see just how Gallimore is amongst those looking at Slane on the outside. Delaney has dropped like a lead balloon. Is this just incomfortability with the car in short run, or is this saving the tires for the 6?
Ooh, that is a very good question that you raised there. I think about Jonathan Delaney, and the few times I've gone to cover him here in this series, he won the 600 last year. So if there's anybody that knows how to save up this stuff for what is going to be an exhausting evening for these drivers, it is probably him. So I think he may be doing a little bit of tire saving, either saving up his tires or just saving up himself. These drivers are going to have their hands full throughout this race. It's not often in the sim that you talk about the sheer exhaustion setting in, but it will get to that point. These drivers are going to have mental and physical exhaustion by the end of this race.
Sure possibility. I think you could really argue here, absolutely. As you see some of the drivers at the top of the racetrack as they rip. That includes drivers like Conklin. Nobody's been able to get alongside Mason yet. That's going to change for second, though. Hoytsma got alongside Miller. No, not able to keep it there. Just a little bit too high. Normally the lower line's the better line here, but some drivers might be able to do something here with this diamond to build up momentum. Mason's lost the top also. Here comes Miller.
Look at Hoytsma. He's applying the pressure too there on the high side.
Yeah, they both zip on by easily. Miller up to the race lead, and the 15's up front, but Hoytsma ready to go as well. This kind of feels like very old Gen 6 style racing prior to the high downforce, low horsepower package. But the way Hoytsma is searching around here, just finding a lot more grip up top to find the diamond.
Yeah, just keeping it all rocking and rolling. It has worked out very well for these drivers. We talked about heading into this race how intriguing it was going to be because this is just a completely different feel. I mean, how often in the world of motorsports does a sanctioning body just say, you know what, we're going to give these cars 10% more horsepower, we're going to just knock about 150 pounds off of them? That is a huge change. So these drivers have to go about this race a completely different way than they have gone through Dover in the past. If you compare this race here tonight compared to last season's race here at Dover, obviously stages and a lot more stuff going on there, but just the way that these drivers have to tackle this race and tackle this track and even tackle getting overtakes done, it is night and day.
I think it kind of is, absolutely. And we've seen just how willing some the drivers are willing to try things different a bit tonight. But we knew it was going to be challenging. A little bit of contact nearly as Noah Hodgson tries to get something going in the 12.
Yeah, I gotta say these drivers have been playing it pretty cut and dry at the moment. They've been matter of fact about the way that they've gone about this race. Side by side for the lead. That's Hoytsman Miller.
Here we go. Hoytsma got along to the inside now. No, nothing going.
Nothing working there for now, but we saw Hoytsma just hack at it for a while here earlier, so I don't think he's going to give up until he absolutely has to. Side by side, just trying to find something to work at well here. Get that top side rubbered in. If that top side starts to get rubbered in, then you could really be cooking with gas, but right now he's not able to make it work, which is why he's dived down the inside, heading off into 3 and 4. Still looking for that race lead. I think he may be able to get it done.
I think there is the chance, and it will be complete in the entry. This time through and done. Pass complete. So that moves Hoytsma up a spot as a result on the shuffle. He'll make his way on through, down through 3. I think Lucas Hoytsma might be one of the drivers to keep an eye on here with the speed here tonight. But obviously, the fall off is already up to the usual 9/10. Here comes the question, does it fall off even more than the usual 9/10 that we see everywhere else?
You know, this is not the greatest comparison in the world. It's pretty much just apples and oranges. But thinking back to what we saw in the Friday Night Lights race just 24 hours ago here, the tire fall off and that was, it was absolutely insane. You would see drivers that came out of the pits and just, you know, blow past the drivers on old tires as if they were standing still, as if they had rockets powering them around this racetrack. It was an insane difference. I think we're going to see a little bit of that here in this race. Once we have drivers running some alternate pit calls, that'll be when it really gets put on full display. And that'll be when we also head into the danger zone as well.
A little bit slicey. And now you see just how much Basin's starting to fall off. A little contact. Both of them apologizing to the radio.
Yeah, so playing fair and playing as hard as they can. They can't battle too hard, though, because you just see that gap between themselves and Lucas Hoytsma starting to grow. And we've been able to see that gap between these two and Sean Conklin just disappear almost immediately. There you can see that number 17 car. He is right there, there to fight, there to pounce, here to squabble. Will he try and get a move done on that team car of Dylan Basin? I'm not sure if he will unless he's feeling super choked up.
Yeah, Conklin trying to soar here. He sends it deep to the inside. That's real world racing experience we talked about a couple weeks ago. We had a near spin for Tucker. All of a sudden, the 36 is falling loose. Michael S. Tucker nearly wrecked it 3 times over.
Now as we're getting into the first 10th of this race being completed, you know how we said that the tire fall off and tire wear was going to get bad? I think we're getting off into bad right now. If this were a game of Hangman, we've already guessed the letter B, and the A is coming up very, very soon. As there's Dave Hoytsma coming down pit lane in the 76 car. Sorry, 79. Whoa.
Yeah, oh, that's a little bit of a moment back straight away as well. Well, down the racetrack, Brandon Hastings having some issues. That got a little bit sketchy really quickly, as some of the drivers talking on the radio about how some of those moments are coming. Reiner with some near scrapes as well.
Yeah, so Brandon Hastings getting an opportunity to visit that inside safer barrier. He'd probably be able to brush it with his hand if he could stick his hand out of the window net, but I think he doesn't want to get any closer to that. It's the walls around here, kind of like a wild animal. You just don't really want to touch them with anything more than a 10-foot pole.
Not really. I mean, it is the Monster Mile. Again, it's a surprising track with the All-Star race this year. I know there's a lot of talk about here for the All-Star race. How do you feel about Dover with it in real life being All-Star soaring this weekend instead of being a points race?
I I'm kind of iffy on the idea of having the All-Star race at Bristol, to tell you the truth. Unless we ran on the inside horse racing. Where did I say Bristol?
I think you're iffy on both tracks, I think is what you're saying.
Yeah, that is true. That Bristol All-Star race back in 2020 was a bit iffy. But here at Dover, I made that comparison between Bristol and Dover yesterday. I think that's where I was coming from. But no, here at Dover, I think if we ran it on the horse racing track there on the infield, that would be kind of cool. Maybe like a rally cross layout out of it all. They have to run on the infield and on the main oval as well. That'd be some sort of like goofy configuration. Try and run something odd there as well. You have to pick between either dirt tires or just asphalt tires. See what you can do in a 50-lap long race. That would be interesting. Here though, I'm not really sure. Like when I think of the All-Star, I think of the stars coming out either in the NASCAR world or just period. I think of eye-popping, eye-catching events. When the All-Star race first got held in the night back in 1992, and that thrilling finish when Davey Allison wrecked after winning the race, and that very close finish with himself and Kyle Petty, that was when the All-Star race kind of got its name as being a big event in NASCAR, not only because of the prize, but because of the spectacle it put on. It was meant to be a show. It was meant to be a good show at that. It was meant to be star-studded. Dover, Delaware is not a star-studded town. I don't know how many light bulbs you stick on it or neon signs. It is not a star-studded town. It's a town with some shopping malls.
It's got a casino.
That it does. That's how the people in Dover, Delaware, they hedge their bets to try and get enough money to get out.
I mean, have you ever told someone from Dover this?
I think I made some pretty good Dover cracks during the Friday Night Lights broadcast, both yesterday and the other day. See, I've been to Dover. I went there back in 2016, and I kid you not, I shared this story last night. Leaving the track, somebody in their beat up Ford Pinto detonated their engine directly in front of us, like full plume of smoke. It was like driving through. It was like flying through a cloud in a very small airplane.
Didn't really think about it like that. But
I think very differently because I hit my head too much as a child.
Well then, don't know what to tell you on that mark then, as we continue about here, but we'll say as we continue to sprint forward here with some of the drivers, it still remained relatively close in terms of the conversation. It's probably going to be the same in terms of pit road. My thought is, how are things going to go with blown tires with us having to go full distance in terms of no stages to think about a tire stop?
Yeah, no, you won't have that just break of a stage to say, okay, yeah, everything's settling down, I can come down pit lane. You're going to have to think about the green flag pit stops here at Dover. I am going to go out and say that the pit entry and exits here at Dover, but certainly the entry, is probably the most horrifying one in the entire NASCAR calendar. I'm just going to go out and say you're slowing down as these drivers are just hauling the mail all through 3 and 4. I think Jimmy Johnson had a pretty sketchy moment through there right towards the end of his Cup career, if I remember correctly. It was either 2019 or 2020. Had a really, really close encounter heading your way through that turn. And we saw a couple of moments like that happen yesterday in the O'Reilly's cars. So I feel like here in the Cup cars, it may be a little bit different, especially with the speed that these drivers are taking through the turns. It is going to be a just horrifying prospect.
I think possibly with some of this, as we see some of the drivers battle at the back of the grouping, that includes the Roush Fenway Keselowski car, should rather say, still battling about. And I know it's big in terms of connections in NASCAR. That's the underlying truth when it comes to things. Obviously, though, as some will tell you, it's important to have the same technical alliance, if you will, to work on your cars so you are in sync and have similar performance. Basin and Conklin going to work pretty well together with the RFK camp, you would have to think, in the Coke Series when it starts next Tuesday.
That's going to be a pretty big powerhouse as we get through to the end of the regular season and potentially carrying over into the chase as well. That'll be real intriguing to keep our eye on those drivers as once again side by side for your race lead. Robert Miller looking to fight with Hoytsma side by side as they head their way off through 3 and 4. I think Hoytsma will remain in that spot. Miller going to slip back in tow. I overheard this in our little pre-race chat before we got this broadcast up and rolling. Morgan in the production truck mentioning that this is the first show that he has done with a prorated driver. I believe this may be the second, and it's the second one here on Maconi Entertainment for myself. I think it was Andre Castro, who I believe was running in a pro road series back when we were still covering the FF 1600 official series here on Maconi Entertainment. I believe he ended up running in some of those races when he had a pro license, and I believe his popping into some of those races nearly lost him that pro license because those drivers were maniacs.
I guess you could say that, but I mean, we've had former NASCAR drivers part of the FLCC. We've had current crew members be a part of the FLCC and are current real-life NASCAR competitors in the crew side as well. So there is a pretty distinct talent pool. Jonathan Delaney was one of the notables for a while, for example. Now, you add that extra to that list of drivers who have the pro experience. And keep in mind, Robert Miller amongst those who works with some people that we've seen like Christopher Hill, that we've seen pop up over in recent years in good measure in the Altus camp. Side by side for the race lead, Miller nearly got alongside Hoytsma.
And so Robert Miller just not giving up here in this fight as side by side once again. Contact there, wall contact. Lucas Hoytsma tags the fence as he headed his way at turn number 4. And now Dylan Basin getting involved in this battle as well. What's Basin going to do? He's first alongside Hoytsma. Will he maybe try and get the 2-for-1 deal, clip the coupon here on this 45th lap and get that spot from Robert Miller as well? Not close enough as he heads his way into 3 and 4, still alongside that number 97 as he heads his way out of the turn. And more contact there with the 97. That car's getting wicked tight on him.
Yeah, I'm noticing that seems to be a thing we've seen a couple times over now, is quite simply, some of these drivers have cooked the tires, not expecting the car to run the same way, or rather the way it is here. And it's out of that extra little challenge, per se, at least from the outside viewpoint. I mean, racing line-wise, it looks similar to what you would normally expect. Other than the groove is higher.
Obviously we talk about the big things that are different here in this race. Of course, the power adjustment, the weight adjustment, no stages. Obviously got to throw some wrenches into the works, but it's a little things as well that can make a huge difference here. It's the world of motorsports. Even here in iRacing, the smallest things can make a difference. One small little electrical solenoid in your wheel going bad could spell the difference between you winning a race and you losing a race because of a hardware failure. One thing that's not helping out these drivers as well is looking at that track temperature there as well. 117 degrees Fahrenheit. 83 degrees Fahrenheit for the ambient temperature. Even at that, I would start to melt. But those tires, especially the way these cars are, that is just a 1-2 punch of how to turn Goodyears into just worn down bits of canvas.
It kind of is with the way things are shaping up. As you see how Conklin gets set up. I mean, you can turn good years into bad days pretty quickly, after all. You can have a good year for a while, and then you make one big mistake, and all of a sudden, you have a blown tire and potentially have lost your house.
And, if I was a betting man, I wouldn't have a house. I probably wouldn't even have socks for that matter. So, if it works, it works. I've read that in a fortune cookie before. But, yeah, I think these tires are obviously going to be a huge talking point here in this race. If you don't get those tires underneath you, you are going to be in for a world of hurt. As Tanner Marty, very slow, got pulled down pit lane, currently 18th at the moment. We're hearing they may have blown a tires. Look at that rodeo ride there on the apron, nearly rejoined. And if he did, that probably would have been an airplane accident through 3 and 4.
Look at some of those on the move. It's MDW who's gone to third. Now he's the fastest car by a half a tenth or so than the leaders. In fact, he's a tenth quicker than Robert Miller at the moment. Basin's picked up. Hearing that drivers are blowing tires now. Oh no, these tires aren't going to even last 60.
Yeah, so we're hearing that Hoytsma has a blown tire. We see him coming down pit lane right now. I knew that handling was starting to get bad in that race car, and that makes sense. So now that's adding an extra level of importance to these drivers' battles out there on the racetrack. Paul Gallimore, latest to come down pit lane, top two, still involved in their own little squabble. That's Dylan Basin and Robert Miller. Gotta wonder whether these drivers are just looking to do it before the pit stops come around here. Say, okay, we're driving on tires that are basically made out of tin cans, hopes, and a prayer, so may as well battle now soon.
May as well battle very quick. We're seeing just how some of these challenges go immediately for a lot of these cars. So, off and away goes the pit stops for some of the drivers here. A lot of errors extending. Wonder how powerful the undercut's going to be. Basin back to the lead, by the way.
Oh, that's a good point that you bring up there, JP. Talking about the undercuts, overcuts, all the cuts that you can. So many cuts, you think that we'd be able to open up our own hair salon. So right now, everybody looking around the pack and trying to figure out, okay, what are you doing? Because I want to try and do something a little bit different. Some drivers may be unified in certain decisions that they make out there on the road, but in terms of the pit stops, I feel like it's just going to be, every man for himself. I think the only sort of unification we may have is teammates and their different calls to come down pit lane, because it's so driver dependent on when that tire is going to go that it just can't really coordinate that stuff.
Yeah, it's not going to be as simple as in terms of the sequence with everyone else. We are going to see a fair bit of difference on tire pace. You see Tucker zipping on by. Basin's really starting to go to a crawl. Some of these drivers, the roll speed is in the 130s. Conklin just pit. So another stop coming through for him.
Yeah, so Sean Conklin, odd decision there to come down pit lane once again. This is I'm not really sure what the deal is there. Some sort of outstanding penalty. This
has to.
That is quite odd. Yeah, I'm not sure if that was a necessary call from him. He is pulling into the pits there.
Hastings just blew a tire. He's gonna have to come on down. This is turning into a disaster for almost the field here yet again. Blown tires being the problem.
Yeah, last time NASCAR saw this many blown tires was Indy 2008. I think Morgan and I just made the exact same reference there. But before the YouTube chat decides to explode there, I feel like that is still a sensitive topic to this very day. We'll jump back to the racing action right now, side by side between Dylan Basin, your leader, as well as the 97 of Hoytsma. Obviously, different situations going on there. Hoytsma already came down pit lane. The 12 now coming down pit lane here. So Noel Hodgson pulling away from the pack, coming down pit lane. Still waiting for a decent amount of pit stops to come around here. It's, as I expected, been very split on when to come down pit lane and what to do there.
I mean, what would you do in these situations with the way things are shaping up in this race? Would you just go until the tire blows? Would you try and figure out a strategy of 60-60? Not even sure how you plan this out. Just what would your game plan be? Remember, Robert Miller just called he's going to have to come in.
Yeah, so Miller now pulling off the track, coming down pit lane here as well. So if it were me, honestly, JP, the first line defense, I think I would probably return to church for the first time in quite some time, as I think prayer may be necessary. It's a 25, all sorts of crossed up on pit entry. Thankfully avoids making contact. That was Bryce Reiner, who darn near won the other race last evening. It was himself and Bryson Nixon ball right towards the end there. He knows what it's like to try and play that tire game. He'll look to try and play it to his benefit here in this race. If it were me, though, I would probably say, take a preemptive strike. Come down pit lane before you're absolutely forced to, because at this point you're just losing out on a boatload of speed. And if you break up this race, by the 50s, you'll be able to, run through the entirety of the race and not have to worry about tires too terribly much. And you'll probably be able to keep the pace up, rocking and rolling there as well. Not to see what these drivers do. I would not be a very good strategist for these drivers. I'm just a guy who talks into a microphone for a living. But if it were me, I would try and make it as simple as possible so you could just focus on the stuff behind the wheel. Because these cars, you have to put so much mental focus in just keeping that car on the road.
Absolutely. And we have a lot of tire sets for tonight we talked about. So we have spare sets. It's not like we have to, ship them in from Pocono or anything along those lines. So it's not necessarily that type of concern. It's more so who's going to be the best in survival. Right now, the drivers on fresh tires are already about running 1.4 seconds quicker than those that are toughing it on out here.
A good point being raised by Morgan in the production truck, trying to tough it out and potentially, I'm going to do the math here. Again, it is math coming from me, so this may be horrendously accurate, but I want to see how much these drivers would have to do to potentially cut out a pit stop entirely out of their race. I'm not sure how well of a game that could be played, but it's worth figuring out. I'm sure these drivers and these teams are running those permutations just as much as we are here in the broadcast booth. If my booth fills up with smoke and the smoke alarm goes off, you know that I thought too hard, so give me a few minutes.
Gary Medina's on pit road, so that's going to be some more service. He's up to 7th on his pit situation. Last of the cars in the lead lap. By the way, Daiso quietly has been running in this run. In the top 5 now is the 41. Pretty solid season in the Conti camp.
He's had a good run so far, whether it be here in the Full-Length Cup Challenge or certainly in the Friday Night Lights series. He's been able to put in some good results over there. Always like keeping an eye on Dice. He's also a good interview as well. Great guy, full of energy, probably because this is the way that he starts his day. What a wake-up call for him here on his Monday morning. Just roll out of bed, I'm not sure exactly how an Australian breakfast is. I don't want to make any assumptions about an Australian breakfast, otherwise I may get just told 18 different ways of why I should fry myself on a Barbie. But as soon as he wakes up, has to deal with this. This is quite the wake-up call to say, yeah, you're sleeping about an hour ago, now you got to worry about saving tires around Pocono. Welcome to the day.
Oh, never blown tire. Mason's popped it now. Challenges continue. That's going to leave us with just about 4 cars running. Aaron Delaney's just out of the pit as well.
And as we've been seeing these stops, I've looked into it here, JP, and again, this is me math, so this may be entirely inaccurate. However, I was saying that the drivers could maybe afford just to break up the race by the 50s, come down pit lane every single 50 laps, keep the speed rolling, try and run it good. But if you make it 62.5 laps, you can cut out a pit stop entirely out of your race. Just run 62.5 laps, you'll be able to make it to the end on 4 tires. Now, granted, those tires will be killed, a lot more killed than if you took tires every 50 laps. However, you would be able to cut out that time on pit lane, which the pit lane loss that you have here at Dover is substantial. The speeds are so high, and of course the speeds down pit lane are so low. You got heard out, we're hearing as well, 45 seconds lost down in pit lane here. So if you can cut that one out, doesn't matter that fresh tire advantage if you take one more stop, that will get offset. So that's probably what these drivers are trying to do.
I think that's exactly what the thought is. And so, as we come up to 176 to go, now everybody else is going to go and figure out quickly, what are they going to do with Dylan Basin now setting fastest laps, by the way. Here's the thing, Basin, you know how much time he's lost on this call? About 12 seconds.
That's brutal. That's absolutely brutal for him. Had some good pace to contend, but just hasn't been able to work out his way. You know, one point that I will raise, talking about this is pretty much a total anomaly. I don't think anybody would be able to do this. People were struggling to make 83 laps in the other Friday Night Lights series, but if they were able to make about 83, 84 laps, they would be able to go through this race with 3 pit stops, 3 stints, pretty much. That would be stunning. Now, will anybody do that? Probably not. I don't believe that would be, just reasonably possible. You would probably be able to do it, but you'd have to run really, really slow and be really patient on your tires. Not too terribly far away from it. It's those final few laps that are just going to eat away at these drivers. They're only about 7 laps away from being able to make that call work. Maybe that's what the top 3 are trying to pull right now, but these are going to be the slowest 7 laps of their lives.
I think this is going to be for them, again, a long play that you're expecting. You're going to be better with the less pit stops, absolutely here. Seeing Daiso all over Duggar. You have to wonder what Ken Byron's saying in the radio right now if you are in the 10 camp. There's the challenge. Look how steady Dyson is doing this. He's making the move. Still running 24-1s. Hits the wall, though.
Maybe it's that peaceful morning stillness for Andrew Dyson. Just, you can see those movements there behind the wheel. It is delicate is what it is. It is, I would not say dainty because he's behind the wheel of a high-powered race car, but it's as close to dainty as you could ever get behind the wheel in the world of motorsports. He's just so precise on that wheel. As well, Alan Duggar maybe trying to pull off a 2-stop. That would be the 83 lapper call. So if you stretch that, it was 83 1/3. So we'll just call that 84 laps. If you can make that work, now that'd be music to those drivers' ears. Be able to cut out one more stop. I'm not sure how well those drivers will be able to make it work. We think about the tire game last night. Adam Benefiel was one of the drivers who did play it and played it somewhat all right. Had a blown tire 1 lap away from that 5 to go signal. If he had that blown tire a lap later, he would have been able to make it to the checkered flag and could potentially win that race. Certainly a finish in second. I'm not sure if Adam Benefiel will like running around this track and having to handle this racetrack and his car with kit gloves. But one man who's been able to do it quite well is Andrew Dyson, still leading over Alan Duggar.
I think that 2-stop absolutely is in a great spot here, just with the way things are looking. The fact that, here's the thing, Conklin is still the leader in terms of those who pit. The others have not even gotten close yet. This absolutely is going to be a brilliant call if this does end up being the way it's supposed to be played here for Dyson, Duggar, and Benefiel, because they are still the only cars going to be on the lead lap. They're only a few tenths slower. The fall off has kicked in. This is huge, and they have absolutely put in the preparation to know this.
Yeah, I think the other problem that these drivers have in terms of making that call to come down pit lane and running it the way that they did, I think the tire wear has been a bit like logarithmic, I think. You start off, everything's feeling fine, and then, we saw, it wasn't like 4 laps. In 4 laps at the start of this race, we already saw a couple of tenths of fall off in terms of pace. I think as things go along, that tire wear is less accelerated, but at the start of a stint, 15-lap-old tires are not going to be feeling that great. They may be pretty much on level playing field compared to some drivers that are 60, 70, 80 laps into their stint. That's fascinating to hear that they're only 0.4 of a second slower. Very different kettle of fish compared to what we saw last night, where the drivers on new tires, they were just able to drive away. I was talking about Bryce Reiner, who nearly won that race had it not been for Bryson Hixenball getting a blown tire with 5 laps left and being able to see it through to the end. He would have been able to make it work as Benefiel spinning and hitting the wall in pit entry.
Well, that strategy just went bust for him. So that's gone smoke. That leaves just 2 on the attempt. Daiso and Duggar. They're separated already by more than a second. Right now, Conklin is slowly chipping his gap away now to the 41 and the 10 as we go. By the way, some of those with the freshest tires, they're almost 2 laps down right now.
And that is rather shocking to see this much of a field spread. Your top 2 covered by 9/10 of a second. Everybody else 1 lap down or greater. Shows you the pit stop chicanery that is going down here in this race. Everybody, just trying their best. This is such an unknown here as well. We talk about a lot of the races of like, okay, here's what the drivers have to do strategically. We have a good idea as to what racers have to do. Here, you'd have a better chance walking through a mirror maze with a bag over your head.
I mean, could be fun. It could be interesting to go through a maze.
Walking through a mirror maze with a bag over your head, that sounds like a fantastic way to get a concussion.
See the difference, by the way. Leader to those who pit. It's now upwards of 7/10 in a couple of these cases right now. And you see that difference is closing a little bit more by more. Conklin has Robert Miller close to him, though.
Yeah, there you can see Conklin getting that move done. The caveat is this 1 lap down as Dyson, he just blew a tire. He's pulling down pit lane. That'll leave Alan Duggar alone. It's the 1 driver left. There you can see those sideways snaps. Those have been a common occurrence when the tires are just killed. On the banking, it's not the worst in the world. You can certainly feel it. When you head your way onto the apron, though, when when the track's dusty, that black top keeping a lot more residual temperature than that lighter concrete, you're going to see those cars be really sideways. That's part of the reason why we saw that moment for Benefield there. Very tough to try and get woed up on pit entry here. Nearly just caught out the 41 of Dyson, who has now landed in his pit stall. Was just going to say Conklin able to get that move done on Andrew Dyson. That was great. Bad news, 1 lap down. So it's good news and bad news. There's one big caveat and one big asterisk next to it.
Definitely so. And right now, Duggar, he's crawling. I think he's got it to his limit as well. Only so much you can go on gas as well. And there goes the 10. Pit window for the first stops are closed fully. We're about a few minutes few laps away from our next win already. That's going to take a few moments as Conklin running the same pace as Miller.
Yeah, so now these two are going to be even keel. Robert Miller, what we saw a bit earlier on here in this race, he was able to play that defensive game very, very well. Now, though, it's a different shoe on the different foot. How is he going to be able to play the offensive game with a different driver? This will be quite fascinating to see what Miller may be able to do. We know him to be a very fast driver, but does he have that gumption? Does he have the ability to be able to get that race lead from Sean Conklin? That'll be fast. I think there has to be another kind of push in this right now. Miller has him at arm's reach, but I think he needs something to check up Conklin, maybe a lap traffic encounter, whatever the deal may be. He needs something to close up that margin to have a chance.
He's got to think of something, anything, obviously. So, what'd you do?
Oh boy. In reference to this battle for the top 2, you're saying?
Yes, in terms of to join into it at this point. Because obviously, there's been no caution flags to even try something different.
See, if I were Robert Miller, and this could be me having the personal standards and personal taste of a grandpa. If it were me, if I were Robert Miller, I would take it easy. I would relax. I would say, okay, you know what? It's not coming to me right now. There's no point trying to, whittle away at this until I have absolutely nothing left. May as well take it easy, try and get something going, settle down here in this race. We're getting to lap 100. I don't think these drivers have been able to catch their breath here in this race. If I were Robert Miller, I would be happy running in this spot right now. Even if it doesn't work out farther down the line, if you can't get that move done, you're still getting a second place run, which is not ideal in the All-Star race. You driver not worrying about points, so it's not a deal of a good point stay. It's just a matter of trying to be there at the end and giving yourself a chance. There's still so much racing left to go, so much left to be decided that if you are Robert Miller, there's room throwing caution to the wind right now. It's not going to get you anywhere.
No, absolutely not. So you just gotta try to make sure you at least salvage a good finish. Obviously, you want to win the All-Star race, try and get the big prize in terms of the trophies, if you will, when it comes to a race like this. And right now, we've seen just how much some of the drivers have really wanted it, like Matthew David Wood here. He's got a little fresher tires than the leader, and he is slowly crawling into it. He has a chance to move up to third real quickly.
And now, will this be feasible for MDW and Nolan Hodgson? Will they start to squabble here soon? They will. MDW looking for it around the outside. That number 16 machine off the 12 of Hodgson. Who's going to have to yield first? Will be MDW backing out there? No, he will not. Bangs the wall on corner exit and gets that spot. The driver of the 16 jumping his way up into third, but the battling still not done quite yet. Hodgson still maintaining a presence there on the inside. Wasn't able to draw alongside as he headed his way off through 3 and 4, but still getting into the head of that number 16 car a bit, just saying, hey, look, I'm still here, and I can do whatever I want, whenever I want. Hodgson, been a real fascinating driver to keep tabs on throughout this campaign here in the FLCC, having another intriguing performance right now, battling for that final podium spot.
Yeah, now, I think this is now looking to where the main thought here, coming close to the halfway point, is talking about some of the different storylines of those here tonight. Bryce Reiner's put up a solid effort amongst the top 10. Give credit to Race Control tonight, getting the chance to unleash themselves at the track too. Hicksonball, who usually runs in Friday Night Lights sometimes, down to the top 10.
And Bryson Hicksonball, who was able to get his third win so far this season in the Friday Night Lights series just 24 hours ago. He was your race winner, well, got the most amount of race wins last season at 7 out of 33 races. Really the dominant man. I think things just kind of fell apart in the final 10 weeks of that season. I think even in this format, he would have potentially lost out on the crown to a different man. It was Joseph McWhorter that he lost the championship to with the playoff format at the time. I think had he run the chase format like we are doing this year, potentially, I believe, would have been Benefield. I'll have to look for further word. I'm going to share that stat come time for the end of the regular season overall in that series. And you can catch every single Friday night here on Maconi Entertainment along with this. Yeah, the bigger sister series, lots of the drivers coming down, as well as Hicksonball, who, as you said, usually runs Race Control here in these Cup races, decide to give some Cup driving a crack. And as usual, Hicksonball able to take to it like a duck to water. Although we say that he is technically speaking, a midfield driver here. That is the first time I think I've ever gotten the opportunity to say that about Hicksonball.
Yeah, normally I've seen him in the past too be relatively competitive. Was one of the drivers I've seen coming up the ranks that looked pretty solid with his team connections. Tonight, it's not been necessarily one of the front contenders like he was about 4 or 5 years ago in terms of these cars when it's still the Gen 6 era. Now, Gallimore, he's still riding along as well here, 11th. He has a big difference. He's nearly a lap down. In fact, I believe it is a lap down, I should correct myself.
You brought up a good point there, JP, talking about the change for Bryson Hicksonball going from those Gen 6 cars here into, do we call it the Gen 7? Do we still call it the Next Gen here? I think Next Gen is a good name. It's good in what I was just going to bring up, how these cars, just such a massive overhaul. It was talked about a lot when the Next Gen cars were brought in. It was going to be different. Obviously, single source manufacturer parts, 5-speed transmission, single lug nut wheels. Lots of things made these cars different from their Gen 6 counterparts, and with it comes a very different driving style. Obviously, in the NASCAR realm, we kind of see a new generation of stars come through with this car, just because of the older names that were more established in the Gen 4, just kind of dropping off, getting a little bit on the older end and falling off performance-wise. But even looking at some of the other younger drivers that were running well in the Gen 6, the likes of Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, even Denny Hamlin to a degree, you have drivers who have had varied luck here in these next-gen cars. The fact that Joey Logano has these two next-gen era championships is absolutely unbelievable because by and large, Logano has sucked in the next-gen in real life, which many other drivers have been able to. The drivers that are a bit more old school, like that older car feel, they just haven't been able to make that change. It is such a drastic change. It's pretty much, it may be in the same realm of driving, but it's the equivalent of going to your local pizza shop and asking the head chef there to try and roll up some sushi. It may be cooking, but it is still such a completely different discipline, so many different nuances that there's almost nothing that can be carried over from one to the other.
So as they await what will happen in the next stops, it's worth noting some of the drivers are extending. That being said, Gallimore just had the pit already. His tires just started exploding on the 11 machine, believe. Lucas Hoytsma has already gone a lot further than the first window. 61 laps already in the 91 car. 97, should say. So he's having Delaney and Basin try and hound past him pretty soon. Hoytsman's been attempting to keep it going, but his pace is only a tenth off of those closing in here.
I think the point that we raised earlier on talking about the tire wear and how odd it is, it's usually you do see that tire wear and the fall off as you get along in the stints be pretty much just the inverse, kind of a butterfly effect where you start off, it's like, you know, going from 1% to 2% is like really lengthy, but then as things go along, it starts to get easier and easier and easier for that fall off just to amplify up and really gets accelerated as time rolls along. Here, though, it's pretty much like climbing up a wall or climbing up a cliff. It just already feeling fine, and then the tire wear starts to kick in. The pace just tanks. You're losing out on a lot of time. The tires are feeling brutal, and then you kind of settle in with having tires. It is finding comfort in sheer discomfort. I always say that in reference to street racing, but here in these cars, I think there's a lot of truth said in just these drivers have had to dance with the devil in the sense of saying, okay, I really don't like the way any of this is going down, but I think I like this a little bit more than some of the other drivers around me, if that makes sense.
I think so. And as Tanner Marti has to apologize for pit stop sequences, I think he just about spun himself in. He blew a tire, that's why his car nearly grip rolled.
You know, of all the places to have a roll, Dover is one of them, as we were talking about Logano a few moments ago. If we see a grip roll here, I will be gobsmacked, well and truly gobsmacked, as we see squabbling there. That was the number 81 of Brandon Hastings, currently running 12th at the moment here in this race, allowing here at 1 point leader of Dylan Basin to go by. They're not really fighting that all that much. Hastings was a driver that we saw that big code ground moment heading out of turn number 2 a bit earlier on here in this race. Now past the halfway mark, JP, we can say in pretty big confidence, at least so far, that's the one major moment we have seen. It's been very smooth.
Definitely solid, I think you can argue. Indeed, I think tonight. And 126 to 166 are a lot of the milestones possibly we'll see come up here. As right now, that is going to be such the important here. The important mark in terms of just getting the strategy, because that gets you at the ladder number just about there on the gas within about 10 laps or so of the number we expect.
Yeah, so that pit window opening once more, and here's the real question we got to ask JP. How much wavering are we going to see from this field? Are they going to say, okay, look, I made this pit call a bit earlier on, not really working. I'm not going to stick to that. I'm going to have a little bit of fluidity in my my pit lane call to say, okay, didn't work out first go around. Let me try something a little bit different. Maybe go a bit longer, maybe go a bit shorter. Do you think we're going to see anybody waver away from the strategy call they already locked in with that first stop, or is everybody going to be rather stubborn and set in their ways? What do you think?
I think if we go green, I mean, have you done your bed shopping yet? I think they're already being sold pre-made at this point.
My mattress is 8 years old. It is hanging on by like a fly's mustache.
I mean, think about it this way. You can get ones pre-made with sheets. That's kind of what we have here right now.
Yeah, it's a good little deal that they got going on right now. So if we run it through and clean to the end, these drivers going to be sleeping comfortably with a trophy or a good finish out of this All-Star race. So, you know, I gotta say, I think this may be the time where drivers are a bit more stubborn. Just say, okay, let's go for his MDW going for it there. Where did that come from? Goes for the dive into turn number 1 and 2 on Sean Conklin. This for the race lead.
Matthew David Wood, first time up to the point. And so far, near half the field has at least led laps tonight. The 16 joins that category. And just like that, he's got fresher tires by a little bit. And he's been able to save them much better by 0.3 a lap.
Yeah, now MDW, a driver that I've gonna cover a couple of times here in this series, a couple of times in some other series as well, as Conklin with a meatball flag. That certainly helped things out there. Now, I'm wondering whether that was for a blown tire or potentially wall contact, because you could see that car actually had a pretty bad bit of wall contact thing its way down the back straightaway out of 2, but we are hearing it was a blown tire for Conklin. It all depends. Was that wall contact because he had a blown tire and that's why he had the meatball flag, or did he make wall contact and that's why he has a meatball flag? As it turns out, it was the former instead of the latter. Conklin coming down pit lane here. So odd to see such a large break in when these drivers are coming down pit lane in terms of pit strategy spread. Even with a larger field in some of the championship rounds that actually award points, you're just seeing something completely different here.
Yeah, now I think if you are some of these drivers, it's again thought of, did you get the setup right? Did you get things planned together? Nor did you try and stick a setup with the normal set in? Robert Miller just had a panic saying, I had you pit. And he's coming down, he spins it, this might be in trouble. Miller missed the pit lane, he holds on to it. No caution, we stay green.
Once again, that pit entry being absolutely brutal. I talked about it with the drivers slow on the banking, how scary it was going to be for the drivers behind. But it has seemed to be just the drivers themselves having to cut their way onto pit lane that has been the nerve-wracking part. I'm trying to figure out exactly what the deal may have been here. Looks like the car's still running at full song. Pulls down pit lane, and there you can see already sideways. Oh, and he is so lucky that he avoided that pit attenuator. That was a matter of inches.
And a little bit of a dicey moment yet again for them as a result, and nerves are high. As Hodgson also came down pit road, Hastings came down pit road. Amongst them, those taking service, Jose Medina just called for pit stop over the radio. Past the halfway point, under 119 laps to roll with here in this one. A little bit of contact to the wall for the 6 machine for good measure. Gonna add a little bit of nervousness, I think, to that, but Miller gonna absolutely lose a ton of time with this.
Yeah, and so that little pit lane gap there is going to hurt him severely. That's a shame because he was running a very smooth race. Really didn't put a foot wrong, and then unfortunately for him, just strikes him out at the worst possible time. I'm wondering exactly what caused that slide. I always try to figure out exactly what caused this stuff, because Matthew David Wood is coming down pit lane himself in the number 16 car. There he is trundling down pit lane. Was that him just running on that apron a little bit too quickly? It looked like he lost it while he was still on the banks there. I wonder if it was maybe a little bumpiness there on the inside there as well. Maybe the downshift involved in that as well, dropping the anchors, whatever the deal may be. Very peculiar to see the amount of sideways snaps and spins that these drivers have had. It reassures the thought that I had about Dover maybe being the sketchiest pit entry in the entirety of the NASCAR world.
Especially with the marbles, I think you definitely could say so with the way things have shaped up. And right now, some of the others peel on off pit road. That includes Matthew David Wood completing his respective service here. So running close towards the edge of things, if you will, with 115 laps to go. That sees Basin now lead laps again, about to pit pretty soon. Hoytsma 83 laps in. He's got a fair ways in the order, but even if you do the math, he would still, after this point, if he even goes another 15 laps, if he even goes 10, if that, you're still thinking about a pit stop with 30 to go. That's going to be late.
You know, I talked about the matter of running out there on the racetrack and finding comfort in sheer discomfort. When it comes to the pit lane calls as well, the drivers and what they need to do strategically in this event to try and get the W, this is just a complete night and day difference from any other next-gen race that I've seen. I gotta commend the changes that we've made here. You know, upping the horsepower, bringing the weight down a little bit. These drivers have been nervous, about as nervous as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs, to tell you the truth. It's been great to see from our perspective here in the booth. I said this right before we got up and rolling here on this race, in the little pre-race jibber-jabber of ours. Us commentators always love it when these drivers are running nervous, and I don't think they've been more nervous here than in quite some time. Probably since the All-Star race last year when they were running a full-length Indy 500.
Yeah, I think for a lot of the drivers, they've had fun in this. I remember last year was with the Indy cars, I believe, the All-Star race. So, you're referring to. So the challenge has absolutely been there for a lot of these cars to just do something, get anything done over the course of the weekend. And I think for this, again, that's the thing about the All-Star race. It's something, a chance to do something different, have a little bit of fun with your style of racing here.
Yeah, do something a little bit different. It's like going to a new restaurant for the first time. You're not going to go to a new restaurant and just ask for the same stuff that you would ask at every single restaurant. I felt that for the first time yesterday going to an IKEA food court. Never had been before, and I was at the fountain drink thing being like, oh, do I just get myself a cold or lemon lime soda? No, I'm going to get myself the sparkling pear, and it was very tasty. Staying within your own norms. You know, some people have very different tastes, obviously. Some people like to stay with their comfort foods, their comfort things. Here in the racing realm as well, lots of drivers like to just stay with what they're comfortable at, what they're good at as well. But one thing I do love to see out of a racer, what makes a good racer, is having that versatility to be able to hop into anything, maybe not do the best, but still do pretty all right. When we think of some of the legends of motorsports, the likes of Mario Andretti, you know, AJ Foyt, at least in the American side of things here, those two able to win and pretty much know anything that he put them in. Formula One cars, Mario Andretti, Formula One world champion, Daytona 500 winner, IndyCar champion, Indy 500 winner. AJ Foyt, four-time Indy winner, first to ever do it. Won some NASCAR races way back in the day as well. Versatility can make or break a drive. If you're too versatile and not good at it, kind of that jack of all trades, master of none, then you get into real trouble. But if you can be solid in pretty much anything that you get dumped into, newer example, Tony Stewart, Robbie Gordon, those drivers were always good, no matter what you put them in.
I agree with that absolutely with some of this, and that's the thing. These days in the virtual world too, you can argue, it used to be where you're good on a stock car, you can get to the Coke Series, go from there. Now, because of the importance of road courses, with some of the races not even being setup dependent, with super speedways, for example, being fixed races in some sequences, you can, in a lot of cases here, be good on ovals, but you have to be good on road. You used to have to run good on dirt as well to make sure you maximize RTP points.
And you know, this has got me wondering, you gotta be good in the draft, gotta know how to run the draft well, gotta be good at keeping momentum rolling, gotta know what to do on the road courses as well. Is the iRacing Formula V the best training ground for an aspiring pro NASCAR driver? These are the real questions worth asking.
I mean, remember,
you get it all at, like, you know, granted you're going about like 4 times slower than you would do in even a 1910s oxen cart, but still.
I mean, I will say this. in terms of that conversation point you mentioned, in terms of NASCAR, remember, and this gets to the point with Basin and with Conklin, there have been a fair few amount of drivers that have gotten chances in real life now as they, on top of NASCAR, built the resumes, but built real-world connections, in part because of the Cup Series. And got the exposure, got connection to sponsors, learned the game in that way. Now they race in real life. As, by the way, Hoytsma just pit. Meatball flag on pit road.
Yeah, so blown tire once again. Hoytsma running it to the numbers. We saw his first pit stop be done as a result of a meatball flag. Second time around, rearing as well. That was the longest stint out of anybody so far here in this race. 96 laps. Golly. Oh, that is absolutely brutal. So if he can, push it a little bit more, maybe we could see these drivers come down pit lane and make it all the way through to the fall of the checkered flag. Granted, you'd be driving around on trash bags full of lard, but still.
Yeah, and remember, some of these drivers were as high as the top 10. Oh, Delaney with a moment. Held on to it. Saved it.
Yeah, Jonathan Delaney, this has been an odd race. We saw him start towards the front. I was wondering whether he was doing some fuel saving. Still waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's why I always have an umbrella over top of me whenever I do these broadcasts, even when I'm indoors. But I just haven't really seen... again, waiting for that other shoe to drop. Has he got something up his sleeve, or is he just telling us that he has something up his sleeve while he's trying to get something to stick up his sleeve?
Not really sure what to say on that. Indeed, it's definitely a thought process you can make here in this situation. And I think, for now, it's indeed another one of those spots where you gotta sort out, can you survive? We're under 96 to go for a reason.
Yeah, and so this is going to be when that pit window opens once more. What do these drivers do here? Do they try and split it down the middle? Do they stay with their pit call, try and maximize the other run on fresh tires in the final 100 laps? We'll just have to find out as we go. That side-by-side battling on camera right now. The 6 of Delaney and the 06 of Dylan Basin. We are expecting these drivers to squabble a bit earlier on here in this race after starting from the front row. We've now finally gone at it in a very different format, about 155 laps later than we were maybe expecting.
Yeah, possibly, I think, is there on the challenge. I think so. So right now, 95 coming up, laps to go. Where do they stand? I think it's simple. Stretch, and we're almost at that limit now for Delaney and Basin. Casey Graves just reached his limit this time.
So Casey Graves, the latest racer to break away from the action and pull away here soon. So some pit stops continuing here in this field as Dylan Basin we're hearing as well. Maybe coming down pit lane potentially. Now he's running around there still. Does not come down pit lane this time around, but we are hearing that he did blow a tire in that 06 machine. And it's being handled at the moment by the 17. Again, that 17, you're at 1 point leader of Sean Conklin. 1 lap down, so that's not going to wreak havoc to his race too much here. Will we see Basin come down pit lane? He will stay out once more as that 17 still looking to get back on the lead lap all over Delaney. He'll get it done coming across the stripe.
Didi will as they go about. And again, the wild thing is here, Delaney's just blown a tire. He's going to have to pit this time. He just backed off as there goes more stops. Again, so critical what we've seen tonight with tires.
Oh, it has been super duper critical. It has been probably the biggest worry that these drivers have had. We were thinking it was just, keeping it on the road, keeping it clean, and that's certainly been a worry. But primarily just been coming down pit lane on your worn tires has been the other biggest source of trouble. I have liked this style of racing, though. You put it back in the driver's hands. There's a lot they have to worry about, a lot that they have to consider. The strategy may be involved in it, but there's more to racing than just overtaking each other out there on the racetrack. As Tony Stewart once said, look up passing in the dictionary, tell me what passing says, and then look up racing in the dictionary, tell me what racing says.
Absolutely. Right now, I think challenges there, absolutely intense in what we've seen, and now we're going to find out pretty soon who's got the winning strat. 70 laps now on the run for Dyson. He can make the fuel window in about 10 laps time. Remember, he played this long right from the get-go. Duggar the same case. He's 5 seconds back. Well in the window is some of the estimation, some of the drivers would say, but how far few have gone here as we've gone out through this one. Been a lengthy one. 8 within the window is the estimation we've got right now for being sure you're on the gas.
Yeah, so this is going to get rather fascinating. It's all a matter of having that fine sort of steering. We saw fantastic when we had that onboard shot with Andrew Dyson, who's currently leading this race once again, how well he was able to cut this race, running very soft on the tires, having the hands of a surgeon to get as much life as he could out of them. Try and time it out well with your fuel stops, make it work out well. Also say as well, just look down to the infield care center. Adam Benefiel has called it a night. He's down there in the infield care center. JP, I think we should have a word with the driver, the number 83.
I mean, why not? Let's see.
As perspective on all this may be a good idea. I'll drag him into the booth to have a quick little chat with him here. I'll let you catch your breath here, JP. Adam, welcome into the booth here. It's been a pretty wild one, but unfortunately you're out of the race. And unfortunate hang down in pit lane. What exactly happened there? Just lost it?
No, dinner was done, so I just went ahead and made it look like I wrecked on purpose. I basically had this race in the bag and figured I'd just pull over and let someone else have the spotlight.
Hey, touche. See, here's a real question, though. Was the dinner worth it, and how was dinner?
Oh, hell yeah, it was worth it. Definitely.
What was the dinner option here this evening? I'm curious now.
Some pork chop, grilled pork chops, and fried potatoes.
Ooh, see, that's not too far away from what I had for dinner. I had some pan-seared chicken breast and some mashed potatoes. I guess we're kind of in the same boat there. But I don't know. I do want to ask you about this race. We weren't really sure what we were expecting heading off into this with boatload more power, lot less weight. It looks like an absolute handful out there.
I mean, honest to God, this is. It's right up my alley, honestly. Like, I love this type of stuff. It brings the driver back into play. You actually got to know how to drive it and know how to manage your tires throughout the run and whatnot. I mean, you can clearly tell who can do it and who can't. No, I loved it. I'm sure there'll be mixed opinions on it, but I mean, this style of racing is how I built my reputation, and more what I'm known for is riding and taking care of managing stuff. I'm not like these Coca-Cola NASCAR professionals.
Sorry to budge in here, Benefield. We just had Andrew Dyson nearly spun on pit entry as he had his way down. Pork chop dinner there as well, but sorry, please continue.
I don't even know what the hell I was saying, but yeah, it's fun, man. I enjoyed it. Wish we could do it every week. Oh, I'm seeing it now. What a save. What a wheel, man.
It's that Vegemite.
That's right, yeah. But no, tire management's going to be big, and I feel like me, Duggar, and Dyson right there they're still, I think, are going to be, in my opinion, I think they'll got a very good shot of winning it. I had no problems. I had no tire warnings. I had no blown tires. I just simply stepped on it on the transition and spun out. But I made it to the target number. But yeah, I mean, I probably could have went another 10, 15 laps probably. But it is what it is.
Yeah, now what you're going to do, Dover going to do odd things. It is an odd town, an odd track, and some odd racing going on right now. Adam, we'll let you go. We'll probably see you back out there on the racetrack at Charlotte, both with Friday Night Lights and the Full-Length Cup Challenge next week. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, I appreciate it. One thing real quick, and I'm kind of Justin Prince. I'm disappointed in you a little bit.
How come?
You gave Delaney past Coke drivers. By God, I was one before him. You got to give me some respect.
Okay. When were you a Coke driver again? Just to remind me.
The very first year it was the Coke Series.
Okay, that understands why I missed that part of that, in terms of that. But I know you've also been big on the crew side for so many years too with Conklin.
No, he's trash. He's washed.
Huh. I mean, he's your team boss.
He's a buddy. Bye. Y'all have a good night. I enjoyed it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That right there was Adam Benefield with some good zingers right there at the end. But now, JP, I'll pass the mic off to you. That was probably one of the more entertaining Benefield interviews that I've had, among many, I will accept.
It's definitely been a good, solid season, I think, for him. He's had some solid runs here of this campaign. And I think he might be in for some more once we get back going in for the full distance races in next week. Duggar, as we expect, leads on his call.
Yeah, so Alan Duggar, who is the last of the standbys on that last run down in pit lane, able to work it out well here, holding on to that race lead pretty much on an island of his own. He's got nobody behind him, nobody in front. There's peaceful times for Alan Duggar.
It's got to be calm and careful, if you will, right now.
Have zen-like patience, some would say.
Exactly. And for him, he knows what the big plan is. He knows Conklin has to come in another time at some point, obviously. He knows drivers like Basin going to have to dig. They're already 20 seconds back of Matthew David Wood on track.
Yeah, and the thing that has stuck out to me here in this race is just how little these drivers have been able to make up in terms of having the new tires. Obviously, you know, it's all about comfort. You're not going to worry about a blown tire once you pit for some new rubber. However, the actual pace advantage that you have on new tires really muted, I would say here. I think there's a lot of different factors deciding that. I think the tire wear is kicking in a heck of a lot quicker than some of these drivers probably had in mind. Also hurts at those track temperatures. Pretty brutal. Currently pushing around 2 p.m. in sim time here. So we're right around the peak of the day, 82 Fahrenheit for that ambient temperature, 116 Fahrenheit for the track temp. At that point, doesn't matter whether you're on new tires, old tires, tires that were taken off of Fred Flintstone's car, or driving around on wheels made out of wood. Don't matter. You're still going to be having the same level of grip, which is just about nothing.
I mean, people like no grip. What else can you say to that end?
Hey, if the Fred Flintstone tires work, the Fred Flintstone tires work. Yabba dabba doo.
Challenges there for a lot of cars for a reason. And now, pretty soon, we'll see just how this all shapes up as Duggar continues to settle on down. Basin, by the way, in the battle with Delaney is the closest on the racetrack, if you will. Duggar coming whenever he wants to. He's just continuing to stretch. And this is going to start off the last cycle in a moment. Yeah, and at this point, who do you think's got it here? Duggar's strategy call to out-shape up Conklin on track, or do you think Conklin's got the pace to reel him on in by the end of the race?
Ooh, that is tough. I am going to say that Alan Duggar is my man to beat. Now, I say that knowing full well I probably just levied upon him the curse from all hell. But I have a good feeling about that time. I think the strategy is working out well. The inroads that drivers have been able to make on new tires, as we just said, limited, muted. You haven't really seen that play out. It's night and day difference from what we saw 24 hours ago with the Friday Night Lights series, where drivers were able to get some moves done. They're able to get themselves back on the lead lap. I'll give you a good example. Bryson Ixenball, who ended up winning that race, stayed out, had that blown tire with 5 laps left to go, ran it through to the end. Bryce Reiner, who came down pit lane, he ended up second. Extra stop there. He still had about 5 seconds in hand there at the end of that race. He was able to close it up that much. Got himself back on the lead lap. It was only 5 seconds behind your winner at the end. We're not seeing that here in this race. Alan Duggar has 65 laps left to bring this through to the end. Even if we get some green-white checkered attempts, that's going to feel like the shortest stint of the day. Compared to the marathon runs that he's had so far, that's going to feel like a walk in the park.
Yeah. And remember some of the runs today, upwards 93, 92 laps for some of this. Challenge has been there. And it's been a true test to see, are you willing to go for it? All throughout the night tonight.
Again, goes back to talking about driver bravery here in this event. Being brave to do something a little bit different out there on the racetrack, do something a little bit different on pit lane. It's the All-Star race. You got to give these drivers the opportunity to take the risks. You got to do something a little bit different, not just throw some odd, goofy format that they're doing in real life.
And remember, Daiso is in a spot where he can try and jump up later on also in this situation. And it's going to be an interesting time for Daiso because we know he is in a spot where he might be able to make it, but how far ahead is his cushion going to be compared to the others here? Right now he's got about near a full lap to catch up to Duggar alone here with 60 to go coming up. And Duggar's right behind him, mind you.
You know, one thing that we could say with confidence about this race is it has been far from predictable. It's been awesome to see. As Adam Benefield said in his little interview, I think that people are going to be rather split on this. I've personally really enjoyed it. I miss seeing NASCAR races without stages. I'm sorry, just we got rid of the playoff format. We slaughtered one beast. Now we have to kill another beast. We're not killing the monster. We're not killing Miles.
I mean, hearing that Wood and Hodgson have entered pit road. Final stops for them. They only went about 60 for their final windows. That makes it about equal on their stints to 60 to go.
So now we see the games get played. I mean, they've been getting played really ever since the drop of the green flag, but I am fascinated they do just to, you know, try something odd. Sean Conklin now coming down pit lane. This will give the other race lead to Robert Miller before he comes down pit lane in the other not too far off future as he comes down pit lane this time around. But we'll have to at some point between now and the end. But I am still thinking that somebody's going to pull something odd. That's my bet. I think somebody's going to try and do something a little bit different because right now it's odd to say in a race that has been so hard to pin down strategically. It is ball for us here in the broadcast booth. There's still going to be somebody looking just to do something a little bit peculiar, something a little bit goofy, hit a Yonky Spelunky pit maneuver and try and do something odd to make something work.
Oh, this might be trouble. Here's Medina slow. Will this be a yellow? Looks like he's not pitting yet, he says. No yellow. We're staying green.
Oh, that car does look a little bit sour, though. I don't have exactly the best feeling about this in the world as he heads his way into turn number 1 and 2. One small little spin, and he can find himself in trouble. So let's take a look to see what happened here. Tagging down a pit lane. And again, it's the pit entry really hurting you. It's so choppy down there. You can see the driver's having to diamond off the track as he actually smacked the pit attenuator there. I was wondering why that car was driving sour. It looked like a little bit of crabbing as he headed his way down that start-finish straightaway. That's exactly what the deal is. Now he's got to cycle his way back to pit lane right as Robert Miller comes down pit lane from the lead.
He had to peel down and take his service. So Bryce Reiner now gets himself some lead laps for the first time tonight. Delaney only 2 seconds back and closing on him. 30 laps difference on the cycle. And right now, the 25, when does he take the chance to go with so much time left to work with? He can go 30 if he wants to, but is that going to be enough time to even do anything?
Ooh, that is... I think there's going to have to be like a happy medium. I would say maybe come down pit lane with about 40 to 35 in your back pocket. I think anything less than that, and you're in trouble. Anything more than that, you may as well just come down pit lane with your adversaries. That, I think, is the perfect window to have enough time to be able to make something up with the ability to also have some tires by the end of it. That's the window, at least, that I am looking at. Watch that age like milk in the Nevada sun, though.
Hey, nobody likes hot Nevada milk, if you will. I think no one likes hot milk at all unless they are in a young category.
You want to see the oddest experience in my life? This is back in my karting days. In the franticness of getting my helmet, suit, neck collar, and everything that I needed to do on so I can get in that cart to be ready to run, sometimes I would leave my Gatorade or whatever sports beverage I was having at the time there on the back of the trailer. Then I would return back after running in the cart for a while, and return home to a hot Gatorade. A hot Gatorade goes down smoother than pretty much anything else. I don't know what it is. It genuinely feels like it is thinner than what. It's like you're drinking oil.
Yeah. I mean, drinking oil is not healthy. Let's put it that way. And right now, Beso, or Basin, if you will. Beso might be the nickname you can use. Showing you can build giant submarines after all. You've seen that sponsor with RFK in real life for a while with the BuildSubmarines.com machine. Bringing that here to FLCC here tonight. He's actually getting closer and closer to Delaney here a little bit. Last time by was another 41 thousandths quicker on the average the past 5.
So as we look at the gaps between your top two, you can see it continuing to fluctuate. Basin occasionally reeling him in, losing out on a bit of time on the previous go-around. Let's see what he did there on lap 203. Loses out on just a bit more time, a tick below a tenth of a second. If this continues, Jonathan Delaney not going to worry about that 06 right behind. So it looks like the 6 duking at with that 06 for that position. This is the battle that we all need. That will be very fun throughout the rest of the season to call in the heat of the moment. And it's a 6 and the 6 side by side, especially on a road course. And 6 and the 6 side by side hang off into turn number 6 in this battle for P6. If that happens at some point this season, I will feel so bad for y'all.
It'd be a gut punch, if you will, in that situation, to say the very minimum.
My tongue would get wrapped around my teeth about 17 times. I'd need to gargle WD-40 afterwards.
Again, do not recommend that. You're recommending things that might be dangerous.
See, I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying it's what I have to do to, go about this broadcasting stuff. I even think for other broadcasters that's not ideal. See, my problem is my body does not respond to most things well. I spent too much time indoors, went to cyber school during the pandemic, and now I'm allergic to all plant life as well as most types of rocks. So, it's a busy world. Well, I don't blame anybody for anything.
It's a challenging one, as, by the way, Medina's been well down pit road after his hit. I think he's done. But this car destroyed, it's going to take a while till he's fully fixed up. He'll be 15th in the running order. Gallimore, Tucker, Benefield, and Dave Hoytsma are part of those who have also had issues here tonight. Right now, Dyson still knocking down time to those up towards the front. This 41 only has to make it about 41 more times next time by.
And talked about the pedigree from that number 41 driver so far here in 2026, whether it be here in this championship or over in the Friday Night Lights series. Right now for Dyson, who at one point was a pretty solid championship contender last season here in this series, yet to get a win, but is still slotted 10th in the points from everything that I see. So able to get a good run of performances so far here in this championship. Just looking to finally break through. You know, it wouldn't be a points-paying race, so it won't be the sweetest win in the world, but that would be one heck of a way to announce your presence back here in 2026. Looking to get out of neutral and into first gear. This would be one heck of a way to do it in the case of Dyson, who it seems to, be a fan of Dover here. I guess Dyson Dover starts with the same letter, so I guess it does work out there. It was a front runner, last night here in the O'Reilly's cars, and his first ever appearance in those cars at this track as well. He just took to it really quickly, led a lot of laps, and had some strategy chicanery not going down in that race. He could have very well been the winner.
Yeah, it could have went in terms of the way things have gone for some in much different ways. And that's the thing with the challenge of the season is it's been a Ryko-dominated regular season so far. Somebody's got to have to change the tides here if they want to take this out of Ryko's leads. Here comes a question, Jen. Do Delaney and Basin make it on gas here? Because remember we set up the 90-ish? They could maybe do it at 90 if they're saving.
No, but how are those tires going to be? If they can make it to the end on fuel, we have to consider both of those running out at roughly the same time. You either run out of tires and pick up a meatball flag or crash. Neither situation is ideal, where you run out of fuel and you grind to a halt out there on the racetrack and have to coast it back down to pit lane. What would come first here? If we could pull up the stint length here so we can see exactly what situation these drivers find themselves in currently, how everything is working out for them, what they're going to have to deal with at the very end of this race in terms of projected stint length if they do have to make it through to the very end. We have seen kind of mid to like low to mid 90s have been pretty much just the peak of it. So if we can get the stint length here, we're working on that right now in the production truck. But I think we'll say that the hard limit is about 93, 94. That's going to be our imposed hard limit. We've seen some drivers get around there really with, I think, I'm not even think with any exceptions. I think that has been the true upper limits of drivers here. Did I hear somebody maybe do 96 laps earlier on here in this race? We did see a 96 lap long stint, but we'll count that as an outlier.
Yeah, that might have been when Clutch and Coast to make it to the number in the first place.
Oh, they'll be good. Looking at Delaney, sorry to budge in there, JP. Be about 90 laps for Delaney if this runs to regulation, and 91 for Basin. It still won't be great, but it's not going to be that disgusting 96 lap stint that we saw earlier.
Yeah, and for Delaney, this would add to what's been some good times here in the FLCC. He's been a winner multiple times after all. And right now, Basin continues to go. I think I just got a heads up on the fuel this is from, I don't know, rhymes with Ben Kyron. Per chance, I think that's referring to fuel. So, you have to wonder when Basin gets the green light to push hard to get to Delaney to try and take this if that's the case.
Yeah, but here's the real question. How much fuel saving can you realistically do here at Dover? There's not too much of an opportunity to pull off lift and coast. But yeah, I think at the moment they're just able to fully gas it up and just run quite well. I think it's mainly tire saving that they're having to worry about more than anything. I think they have enough fuel to make it the entire length here of this run. It's just about tires. The bar that they need to hit is that, you know, lap 245 mark. If things go down the way that they did last night and a driver picks up a meatball flag at the end, they'd be able to run it through to the checkered flag. I'm sure a lot of these drivers saw what was done there by Bryson Ixbal last night, which was news to many. As somebody who covered road stuff for a lot of you know, for most of the time that he's been doing this broadcasting stuff, I knew that rule in the back of my head, but I'd never seen it come down to an oval and somebody actually exploit it to win a race here. I think we could very well find ourselves in a repeat of that. That is just what they need to do. Just make it to that final 5, and then from there, they're pretty much, you know, guaranteed a top 5, maybe even a win or top.
Now, coming to 27 to go. It's now to nervous time. Basin starting to lose a little bit of ground here, off and on. But we did pick up the time back just about the last time up. But Dyson is closing in on them too. He's closed 4/10 in the past few laps. But the problem is he's also got drivers like Hoytsma to deal with who are on different cycles.
And I don't think there is a single driver that is pulling off the exact same strategy call of another. Everybody has had to differ here in this race, and this is the kind of racing that I love. You put the strategy back into it. With the stage racing, the thing that I've always kind of had a gripe about stage racing ever since it was brought in back in 2017 in the NASCAR world, you know, to start off with, it kind of created the opportunity to pull off a little different strategy. You know, get used to it all. But now that we've had stage racing for coming up to a decade, every deal usually goes, and it's not exciting anymore. You have the same deal go down, just drivers running that through to the end of the stage, then come down pit lane, run that through the next stage, then come down pit lane, then probably one stop during the final stage. And that's basically how NASCAR races have been for the most part, for the better part of a decade. It gets tiresome after a while. I like this. Let the races play out naturally. If we can make it through clean in the final 24 laps of this race, we will go caution-free. I think in my entire time covering iRacing oval races, I have never seen a race go entirely caution-free. Not caution-free because of a lack of incidents. I have seen that go down before, but it's been stage yellows that have broken up those races entirely caution-free. This may genuinely be a first for me.
I think this wasn't exactly the expectation with a 250 lapper, but it was definitely a realistic chance. It's going to be one of your quicker races of the season for obvious reasons, but it's been a marathon, to say the least. And now, as we come up to the final 21 laps, it's going to be the answer we're getting to the question to pretty soon. Who wins this marathon?
Yeah, who's going to have the gas at the end, the gas left in the tank to be able to run it through to the checkered flag. 21 laps left to go, 21 miles left. And I think it's two drivers that are definitely hungry for a win. You think of Dylan Basin and how things have changed as of recent with that newly rebadged 06 machine, and you think about Jonathan Delaney. I think both of those drivers would be incredibly delighted to grab a victory here in this championship. Dylan Basin already with 2 wins up to this point in the championship. Same with Jonathan Delaney, but an all-star race win would just be another feather to add into their cap of what has already been quite the fruitful campaign in 2026.
Definitely. And now, as they go in on through, under 20 to go. Right now, Duggar and Conklin, by the way, have converged on each other. They're 9-10 seconds back. Two Ryko teammates have found each other. And Conklin continue to use those higher lines we've seen earlier tonight working.
Yeah, and I brought this up on the broadcast last night, talking about the differences between a concrete and an asphalt surface. It takes a long time for this track to truly rubber in, because compare this to, it's like different grades of sandpaper in a way. This will grate down on the tires quite a lot. The tire wear is huge. But in terms of actually building up the rubber on the surface, now you can see the track actually, really rubbered in as they have their way through turn number 1 and 2 right now with that camera shot. But it takes a very long time to do that. That's after 250 laps with tires that have just been falling off. I have seen smoked brisket falling off the bone that has been better than the tires on these race cars. It has been real brutal, real tough. At the moment, I think everybody is just looking to try and just hold on to what they have got at the moment. It's been a smooth drive for many. Nobody's really had many falling anvils come down, and although we have had a few retirements, Paul Gallimore, Michael Tucker, Adam Benefield, Dave Hoytsma, the only one that we could say was, and Jose Medina at the moment, who's down in pit lane, hasn't fully called it quits, but he's in the session, not out there on the road presently. How many of them are down to like major incidents? Pretty much just Adam Benefield, and that's it. The only real choke points, and Medina there, pardon me, but it's been pretty smooth. Pretty smooth here in this race.
I agree with here, and we're in that final few minutes here to where we're about to see, can Basin push the tempo enough to make the pass. He's within 3/10. Dyson has fallen back on his momentum in comparison's sake. And if Basin wants to get this done, is he going to be willing enough to use the bumper, you think?
Ooh, that is the question worth considering here. Would you get physical at Dover? I always say that this is a short track and a short track in name only. Doesn't really have those characteristics. Feels more like an intermediate than anything. Bumper to bumper racing, it's common, but bumper to bumper contact, I'm not really too sure, because you gotta think, okay, if you're gonna put the bumper to somebody, you gotta have the opportunity to run away. You don't really have the opportunity to do that here. It's been slow but steady pace. We've never seen anybody just break out, have a hole shot and drive away. If it were me, I would keep the bumpers to myself. That would be me personally.
And look at Hastings being used as a pick here in this situation. Closes up Basin. Now gets another car length closer. He's within 2/10 now, coming to 10 to go.
And drivers seeing the opportunity to win this race, they know that they can do it strategically, and now they have got to fight. Will Basin try and hack at this too much here? Will Jonathan Delaney try and fight it too hard? We were thinking that Delaney had something up his sleeves, and clearly that thing that he had up his sleeves was legit. I was wondering whether or not he had anything working out for him, but clearly he has. He's gone to the end of this race, put himself in the right situation. Your leader now with 9 laps left to go. Dylan Basin still all over him like the plastic on grandma's couch. However, he's gonna have to try and get the move done here soon. Again, it's an old racing commentator cliche. Catching up is one thing, overtaking totally different.
Exactly, we're seeing all these compressed Bryson Hicksonball. It's going to have to be very close on the fuel marks. Yeah. And right now, you can tell Hicksonball is in the same boat Delaney and Basin. Try and steal a good finish here, but Duggar already zipping by on the fresher rubber. Conklin looking to do the same pretty soon.
And Conklin, I'm not sure if it was the debut night that he may have had in mind. Still been a good race. I think had the strategy played out a little bit differently, he probably would be the one that we're talking about potentially winning this race, but still some good form for your championship points leader. I'm sure come time for the FLCC 600 next week, he is going to be a man to keep an eye out for. And of course, you'll be able to tune into all of that action here exclusively on Maconi Entertainment. Side by side down the backstretch into 3 and 4. Conklin looks like he'll be able to get that move done, although he and the 63 of Hicksonball did chase each other's tails a bit as they headed their way into the turn. They keep it clean and green. 6, make that 5.5 laps left to go, and 1.5 tenths between your top two.
Yeah, right now with 5 laps to work with, Bason's got to find a way and quick. This is the closest he's been now. And right now, Bason's got the boost. Here he goes, on to the rear end. Can he get alongside? Side by side they go.
Ooh, squeeze there on exit, heading onto the start-finish stretch. I thought that was nearly going to end in tears. They keep it clean and green, but he's still all over the back of him. Close to making contact once again through turn number 1 and 2. Bason not letting Delaney get away.
Definitely not. And right now, Bason knows he's got to try a different line. He's got to play this game differently. Here comes a run now to 3 to go. This time, no boost alongside as they rumble their way through 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think Delaney trying to put on a defensive masterclass, knowing exactly where he's got to position that car, but contact made as they headed their way out of turn number 2, and here comes Bason.
He's now to the fender. He slides up. Coming at 2 laps to go for the All-Star race. Bason holds on to the left rear fender. Now Delaney deeper into the corner, tries to slam the door. Bason moves up. No contact, now a squeeze off. Delaney forces the lift, coming to a lap and a half to go.
Oh, these two are putting themselves in some terrible positions right now. They're not even playing with fire. They're doing jumping jacks in front of a firing squad close to contact. They're side by side coming to take the white.
White flag is out, final time around. Lap 250 of the All-Star race. Bason inside, Delaney outside. Back straight away they go. Bason rubs, they slam. Bason slides, he hits the wall. He knocks down the barrier. Dyson driving forward. All this will set things up for one Jonathan Delaney to win the All-Star race.
And what a finish. Drivers on 80-lap tires still kicking it and giving us one hell of a battle there at the end. What an awesome race, though. Went by in the blink of an eye, but we had a lot of fun. Hey, time flies when you're having fun, and that flew by here in this race. Delaney, though, weathering the storm and getting the checkered flag. He's going to be whooped after that race. I think everybody's going to be. That was awesome. Definitely stressful for these drivers, but awesome for us here in the booth.
So All-Star riding is Jonathan Delaney tonight. He led 56 laps on the way to the victory. He's the one who's getting the chance to celebrate in this one. Bason and Dyson on the podium. Dyson did get within 3/10 of Bason with the 6's slide with the attempt late. But the battle of car 6 goes to Delaney. He is the one who picks up the victory. Unofficial race results on screen. Bason in second, Dyson in third. Duggar and Conklin get top 5s. Then you move 13 seconds back to Hicksonbaugh. Matthew David Wood was within range of passing him for 7th. You also throw Nolan Hodgson, Robert Miller, Lucas Hoitzma, a part of the top half.
Yeah, and looking at the back half of the field, Bryce Reiner ends up in 11th. Casey Graves, first car, 2 laps down, in 12th. Brendan Hastings in lucky spot, P13. Tanner Marty in 14th place. Then we get into the drivers who did not finish this race. That includes Jose Medina, Paul Gallimore, Michael Tucker, Adam Benefiel, and Dave Hoitzma. All the retirements here from this race. But well done to Jonathan Delaney. He's going to burn it down. It's not a third points-paying race win, but it is a third win of any kind here this season in the Cup car, and he's going to be hyped.
He's going to be happy on that run, and celebration time about to kick off here this evening. Just waiting for some of the drivers to make their way on through in terms of their celebrations and get themselves set up in virtual victory lane tonight. But in the end, it's Jonathan Delaney who's your All-Star race winner tonight. Jonathan, do you have a copy?
Yeah, I got you guys.
How do you feel about winning the All-Star race?
Oh man, that was a race. I feel really good. Being honest with you, I was not expecting to win this race. I had no clue what to expect. Just given the fact that we had more horsepower and less weight in the car, so I had no clue how it was going to race, and very limited practice laps. I had maybe 20 laps of practice, and that was about it. So, yeah, I was very shocked of the fact that this race went completely green, 250 laps, and you go 250 laps green, and it's all dependent on between two drivers, like that towards the end. That was real fun, being able to do that. Not having any stage cautions or yellows or anything like that, and really just coming down to strategy between all the drivers. There was a couple different strategies going on, and me and Basin were on the pretty much the same strategy. I was able to get 1 lap fresher tires than him, and it was decided between the two of us there at the end. And I knew going towards the end of that run, it was just going to be dependent on who had the clean air and who had the better tire wear. And he was starting to catch me there towards the end. I was getting kind of pushed tight entry to center and couldn't really get it back down the track as good as he was. And we were just able to hold him off. It was really fun battling him there towards the end. And yeah, it was good racing between everyone tonight. Shame only 19 people showed up, but it was a real blast. And I'm an all-star. I don't remember. I forget. I think this is my second all-star win. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, I'm pretty stoked.
Yeah, I'm sure you absolutely are after this one. So you mentioned some of the expectations coming into tonight in terms of the way it could drive, the way it would race, and that you weren't sure what to expect. How would you describe the characteristics? How different was it? Was it closer to what you expected or farther?
I don't know. I guess it really wasn't too far off. I mean, the 10% horsepower and less weight, it could go either way. But most likely you're going to expect less grip. And being honest with you, I don't know how the car drives without the with the less horsepower and the added weight. I'm not too sure. I haven't done any official races or any other laps outside of this league session, so I'm not too sure. But it was really fun. Like you had to really take care of the tires in order to make it a full fuel run. And like the first pit stop when I pitted on lap 71 or 72, I pitted at 8% tire wear on my tires when I pitted. And then the second time I pitted, I had 2% on my right front and 0% on my right rear at a meatball. So to be able to go that far, was really challenging. Just having to dictate what line to run, how much you're able to push the car, that way you're not going over the limit. This is a very abrasive racetrack. It's concrete, it's bumpy, very high banking. So it's very abrasive, and but it was really fun. The track picked up rubber pretty well. You're kind of able to move around a little bit to make moves and get some clean air. But it was really fun. Having a low downforce package on this car too for this race, and the added extra horsepower made it a really fun combo for sure. So yeah, it was a really fun race.
So on the note, how do you feel about the very long one next week, 600 miles?
Yeah, that's going to be a real long one for sure. I think we'll have a pretty good chance. I've won that race before, once or twice, and I know what it takes to get to the end of those. And it's a lot. You're going to be battling the track the entire night. It being with the track switching from daytime to nighttime, you're gonna have to be constantly changing the car and being able to run all over the racetrack to be able to get clean air and just work the racetrack throughout the night. The lane's going to change, and you got to be willing to adapt to the change of the track and try and figure out what lanes to run and how to set your car up. So it should be pretty fun. If the stages are 100 laps each, strategy's kind of out the window. You just split it in half unless the caution comes out. But Yeah, it should be a fun race next week. So yeah.
Any shows you'd like to give here tonight?
Yeah, everyone at Black Flag. Shout out Lucas for helping working on the set. He did a really good job getting this thing dialed in for this track. Shout out everyone who participates in this league, the admins for putting it together, and shout out you guys for putting this broadcast together. Appreciate it. That's all I got.
Congratulations on the run tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Jonathan Delaney, your all-star race winner tonight. Able to get things in hand here this evening. So with that being said, second place tonight went the way of Dylan Basin. He's with Ron.
Yeah, and Dylan Basin joining us here in the broadcast booth. Dylan, welcome in. It's second place for you at the end of this all-star race and a fantastic battle right towards the end. How about you talk us through this race that we just saw at Dover?
It wasn't as... It didn't go the way I expected it to. You know, you add extra horsepower to a car. You expect major tire fall off, and overcuts would be insane, and it just wasn't like that. So it threw a loop in it. Then and me and Delaney both had the same realization at the end that we could cut out a whole pit stop entirely, and we did that. I shouldn't have let him go early run. Like, I literally just sat there behind him, just saving tire, trying to save more than him. And I think I did, because I was able to easily pressure him at the end, but I couldn't do anything. So I don't know. Like, I had a lot of high expectations for the car and the track combo, but I think iRacing just has the track a little bit too gripped up.
Yeah, that's fascinating to hear. Even with how hot the track temperatures we saw about 117 Fahrenheit. I think I saw at the peak of it. That's usually when you get a bit greasy out there. But he said the grip felt pretty much fine for you, even throughout a stint.
Yeah, I mean, heck, right there at the end, Sean and them are on 30 to 40, even 50 fresher tires, and we were running the same or faster than them at the end. So, like, it just didn't matter. Even though we're on 90 lap old tires, it didn't matter at all.
Oh, that was rather fascinating to hear. We saw throughout this race a tire fall off. I think I said it was a bit logarithmic. Like, you'd go from lap 1 to lap 2, the tire fall off would be kind of bad there. I think we said in the first 4 laps there was already a couple of tenths of tire fall off right off the bat. Then as things went along, it just started to taper off a little bit, and the tire fall off wouldn't be as severe. That was our own observation here in the booth, but interesting to get your perspective from behind the wheel. Next time out, though, Dylan, we're going to be rocking up to the Coke 600, well, the FLCC 600, I should say. What are your thoughts heading there to Charlotte?
Well, I'm thinking me and Sean's case, with it being the first race of the Coke Series, we have a ton of laps put into it already, so I feel like we should be well prepared. Hopefully I can bring out a win there. I wanted to tonight, but just a little bit unfortunate at the end when he popped that wall after us being door-to-door, and 2, it shot off the wall and then my bumper, and it spun me out. So hopefully it doesn't happen to Charlotte. I think we'll have a really good shot there, and I can't wait for that race.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing you out there on the racetrack then. Dylan, before we let you go and celebrate this P2 and maybe get a bit more practice in for Charlotte if you're up to it, well, I'll let you give any thank yous or shout outs.
As always, thank you to the guys at Bracket Performance. No matter what it is, we put in the work trying to get our cars as best as possible, and I think tonight we had a winning car, just didn't get it done.
Yeah, so good amount of momentum heading off into the FLCC 600 next week. Dylan, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time out, Charlotte.
Yeah, thank you.
And that was Dylan Basin, our P2 finisher. JP, I'll pass the mic off to you to have a chat with the Aussie, our P3 finisher of Daiso.
Yes, indeed. Andrew Dyson gets a top 3. Andrew, talk us about your strategy. We thought for a long time you might have been the one to get the chance to win, and then they drove 10 laps further than you were able to go in terms of the gas. You went 80, they went 91 to end the race.
Yeah, well, I thought I had a good chance to get the win as well, but that was just part of my strat. I mean, I wanted to split the end of the race there in 2 and do like a 75 or 80-80 or whatever it was. It was something like that. It was like 79 laps. each run for those last 2 stints. So that wasn't I mean, it was the plan. We wanted to try and just split it and give myself the best shot. At least I thought it would. But man, the plateau, I think all the guys have probably already spoke about it. The plateau, with the way the cars just sort of all ended up running the same lap times, it was that made it really difficult. I mean, I was really trying to press on at the end there and wasn't really making any ground. So not much I could do. I think what those guys ended up doing, accidentally or not, I don't know, but it ended up being the optimal strat because they went fast at the start where the tyres were hard to keep underneath you. And as it got easier during the race to keep the tyres underneath you, they could run, longer. And at that point, that also meant that I wasn't really catching as much, I think, in hindsight. So that's probably how that played out, but still pretty happy. I mean, I finally had a good race. Doesn't mean anything because it's an all-star race. There's no money on the line, but, at least I had a good race. It's cool for confidence and all that. So pretty happy.
Absolutely. And on that note here, with this type of a night, in terms of this, how would you describe the fun factor when it comes to an all-star race like this? Last year was open wheel. This time it's trying the new higher horsepower adjustability. How would you describe the fun factor with an all-star race like tonight?
For a minute there during the race, I thought it almost felt like the fixed setup because you'd be driving on eggshells like crazy as the tyres went off. So, like the rear tyre was really, really slippery. And, it was almost like the diffuser just wasn't attached, which is what the fixed setup used to feel like when I used to race that all the time. So, pretty fun. Took me back for a minute there, but yeah, pretty fun. It's cool to drive something different, totally different to what the A Open sort of felt like, at least for me anyway. Probably because of the temperature, and certainly because of the car being different. But no, I think it's great. I love that we do different things. Next year, who knows what we'll do? Maybe we can. I was sort of hoping we'd do something silly, like cars doing jumps and all that sort of stuff. But this is just as fun, and it's still like a proper race. So I enjoy this sort of stuff. Man, Bathurst in like the 87 stock cars would be wild. Nonsense. Like you'd be braking at the hump before you even get down the bottom of the hill coming down the straight. But yeah, that'd be pretty fun. But just silly stuff like that. But still, you want it to be a proper race because that's also part of the fun, and that's why we're here.
So that being said, how do you feel about your chances next week with Charlotte?
Man, I think everyone needs to work out how to go the fastest for 50 laps, basically, because that's what every run ends up being. With the race being, 400 laps or so, and it's 4 stages, it ends up being 8 runs of 50 laps, or there or thereabouts anyway. So whoever can be fastest for 50 lap runs is probably going to win the race. But yep, I've had some good races there before. Hopefully I can back it up again and just get that little bit of extra tyre life out of it. I think that's what I need in comparison to other years. So I need to work on me and try and do better. But I also need to stay out of trouble because I've seemed to find that everywhere I go lately. But yeah, that'll be the main thing. That's the first thing, to stay out of trouble.
That in mind, anyone you want to thank for the run tonight?
Yeah, certainly, man. Thanks to you guys for doing the TV show tonight at Maconi Entertainment. It's a little bit of a quiet one in terms of, I suppose, people tuning in and racing. But no, it was fun. It's really good. Cool to watch back. I'll try and watch back some highlights. Might be hard to find them because there's not many restarts. Not one restart. How cool is that? But yeah, thanks to all the boys over at TC Performance, Team Connie Sim Performance. And shout out to Bryson. He was in the chat tonight. And Brandon Hastings. A little bit of crew chiefing. And so did Adam Benefield. He did some a little bit of crew chiefing there for me as well for a minute whilst I was cruising around. So I appreciate that. And yeah, shout out to all the guys who put the league on.
Congratulations on the run tonight.
Thank you, boys.
Andrew Dyson comes away with the top 3. I'd like to thank everyone for the time here to speak with us during post-race coverage from Maconi Entertainment. Your final thoughts tonight on the All-Star Race Ron, where in the end, it ends up coming down to who could survive the longest on their Goodyear Eagles.
Yeah, I gotta say, a weird night, but if you have ever heard any of the stuff that comes out of my mouth on these broadcasts, you know I like things a little bit goofy, a little bit weird. That was just a fun night here at Dover. Wasn't really sure exactly what we were going to get at this race, but what we ended up getting was a really competitive, really intriguing race, fascinating strategy content that kept us as broadcasters and these drivers on their toes. I really, really enjoyed that there. And it has me hating stage racing a little bit more because the strategy content in there as well was just, you know, it was to die for. We could sink our teeth into it. That was an awesome way to spend the night.
It was exciting. It was fun. I think it was an enjoyable one. And now we get ready to tune things up when we go to Charlotte next week. 600 miles on the Duncan, remember? That will be next time out. We'll be seeing that coverage on the 23rd of May. That will be a long night. Again, 8:30 start for the coverage. But on that note, it's time to say goodbye for producer Morgan Cook. For my co-announcer tonight, Ron Mond, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been watching tonight's coverage of the FLCC. The All-Star Race goes the way of a Chevy. Jonathan Delaney, he takes the win here at Dover Motor Speedway.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.